exciting show, and I'm going to tell you why. There's a couple reasons why. Because Jimmy and George are ready to kill each other before we even push the play button. Okay? Yeah, Jimmy's here.
So.
Also, George has made a bet with me that he is not going to crack on anyone. He's not going to say anything, any type of fucked up, slurs. You're not going to fucking give anybody a hard time.
Bullshit!
So this it could make for a very boring show, but anyway, first of all, right off the bat, we're going to give shout outs to Cascade Soldier, that's CASCADE Soldier, and a buddy of mine who has a new page on YouTube called Mr. Payne's Neighborhood.
Is this like the stuff you clean dishes with?
That is like the stuff you clean dishes with. It's Cascade and Calgon. Calgon's got the commercial that says Calgon, take me away. Now, let's start out with March.
Hats off to all you folks on Twitter again. You know who you are.
Should we talk about all the people on Twitter?
If you want to.
Maybe we can start out by talking about, what's this guy's name? What was it? Nav _Sultan. Nav _Sultan. That's NAV_Sultan. SULTAN.
What Kevin's trying to get at.
I'm going to just cut you off like you do me all the time. Because we're going to see if we can probably make George's blood pressure with Jimmy and I ganging up on him. Okay. This guy... why don't you tell us really quick what he said to you on Twitter?
I'm going to. See, with Kevin's 1986 BlackBerry, that still runs off a landline, he gets tweets about 3 hours after they happen. That's even if he has his phone on him, and if it's not on silent in the corner with his one candle. So, as anyone was watching the fight last night on Spike, there's lots of commercials. Mm-hmm. So I made the tweet. I was like, come on with all the commercials already. I want to see the fight. Mr. Sultan replies back and goes...
Is Mr. Sultan, you address him as Mr. now? With you're his bitch?
He wants oil.
So Nav Sultan replies back and goes, that's the only way they can show the fight for free. Thank you for your input. I understand that. Mm-hmm. But that doesn't mean I have to like it. And that's what I said back. I was very nice.
Where does he live?
In Vancouver, the west end of Vancouver.
How did you find this out?
Because some people aren't intelligent enough to...
Did it bother you?
No.
For you to look and find this out?
It just pops up on my Twitter.
What do you think, Jimmy?
I think he was upset. Just a little bit.
I know that sometimes when people upset you, George, you say that you're going to take a flight to their house, ring their doorbell, punch them in their face, get back on the plane and go home. Did this ever cross your mind during the
Not with
flight?
This guy.
It didn't?
Nope.
Why?
Because it gets
you
better.
don't want your gas prices to go up.
Well,
I'm just wondering.
It gets better.
Mm-hmm.
So after that, after I let him know that I understand what's happening, but I don't have to like it, he responds back and lets me know that I sound like one of those sure dog fags. And
Jimmy, what's a sure dog fag?
I have no idea, but this dude's a douchebag.
A sure dog fag?
Yeah, let me read this for you. At
Is he homophobic?
I don't know. You sound like a sure dog fag. Like the fact you're alive and not paying $55. Let me guess, you're the white dude, right? Yes, I am the white dude, as I responded to you.
And I'm the black dude.
And let you know my name is George.
And you guys don't know what color Jimmy is.
No, he's actually Asian. Small penis and all. So, now, back to this guy.
Okay.
He seems like he was upset that he wasn't paying $55 for the fight last night. Would you have paid $55 last night for the fight? And
that's why I will take over. Fuck no. Can I get another fuck no, Jim?
55 cents, maybe.
I don't understand that. I don't think anyone alive... that show was free for a reason.
The last time I saw that much humping, it was Ron Jeremy doing it, Shorty. Okay? We're going to roll... No, we're not going to roll into the fight because we have other things we have to talk about. We'll get back to that, but it was not worth $55. It would not be worth $55. Like Jimmy said, it would be a stretch to be worth 55 cents. I got better things to spend 55 cents on.
We don't even want to know.
On to March Madness.
March Madness, which is for all of our brackets here at the Uncut Sports Show, has quickly turned into March Sadness because Jimmy had Duke in the finals, winning it all. George actually still alive, but he kind of fell down in the rankings. I had Ohio State win it all, and they bent me over and fucking cornholed me because they let fucking Kentucky beat me. Never mind. Anyway, the people who are still at the top and you'll see the standings rolling in the background. We don't know what it'll be because there's 2 games going on today. But Zuffa Zombie's at the top. Although, I do not think he'll hold that spot. I think one of the front runners is a good friend of mine, Katrina, who used to babysit for me back in the day. And this girl talks mad, just like the Hurricane Shorty. And she will talk mad shit like that Hurricane. She's called everybody out. And she is in 3rd right now. And not only is she in 3rd, but she's got UConn winning it all. I believe she's got North Carolina in the Final Four, and she's got Kansas in the Final Four. So she's in a good spot to win it all. Anyway, right now, with everybody that's left and going to the games happening, who do you think is going to win it all?
UConn.
You think UConn?
I think Kansas.
You think Kansas? I think I got to agree with Jimmy. I think UConn looks strong, and I mean, but you see these teams like Arizona when they beat Duke, they just looked on fire the second half.
Oh, they were.
But I think when it comes down to it, Bill Self's a great coach. Kansas has all the fucking major players, and they've got a bench. But if you've been keeping up with the game, some of the funniest shit has been Charles Barkley. Have you been watching him? He's fucking funniest. First of all, no,
disinterested.
Just doesn't give a shit. He said at the beginning of the tournament, he's like this. He goes, I'm gonna. You know what? I'm telling you right now. I'm not voting for any teams in the Big East. And he was right, because there's only, 2 teams left in the Big East? Then he sat back, and during the Duke and Arizona game, everybody was saying Duke was going to win the game. Arizona was down by 3 or 4 going into halftime, and he was adamant that Arizona was going to come back and beat Duke, and he said, not only will they beat them, they're going to beat them bad. And that's what happened. So the guy knows college basketball. Anyway, let's move on to the exciting fights that were free last night.
Well, the show started off with, my opinion, the best fight of the night, which was Leonard Garcia versus Chang Jung.
UFC Fight Night, Seattle.
And Jung won by the chubby checker.
He did the twist on that Bama. You know what's funny as shit? Had you ever seen the twist done?
I don't think it ever been done.
I hadn't seen it since the 50s. And it was a black man doing it the last time I saw it.
Well, that was a Mexican and an Asian, so.
Right.
And all y'all think I'm the racist one on the show.
Jimmy's actually part Mexican and Asian. But anyway, I flipped out because I saw that, and he put him in that move, and he had his spine and shit all contorted, and I looked at it, and I was like,
that dude couldn't hold on for one more second. He tapped at 4:59 in the second.
Yeah, that was crazy. I'd never seen it done before, and I'm like, wow, I guess I'm fucking, I'm clueless. But then they said it never had been performed in the UFC. It never had. No one had ever been tapped out with that method in the UFC.
That was a featherweight belt. That was $135.
Yeah.
I mean, those are tiny little guys.
Yeah.
I've actually enjoyed watching the little guys fly around the ring more often than
now,
the heavies bang.
Yeah. Is it called the twist or the twister?
Bruce Buffer called it a twister.
He called it twister.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like the twister. It's kind of like that shit, the twister. So it's like a tornado.
Last time I played Twister, we were all naked. And you had to put your hands and feet on dots.
You have somebody's butthole on your face, because that's why I never wanted to play naked twister, because you could get in this.
Depends who she is. You gonna play with dudes?
I don't know who you play naked twister with.
Yo,
you can play with.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Anyway,
I actually met her. Very nice woman.
Yeah, she is. She raised me. Anyway, you got to be nice to raise Kevin White and live with me under the same roof for that many years.
Amir Sadala versus DeMarcus Johnson. I had DeMarcus winning this fight. That's who I thought was going to win the fight, and then Amir punched him in the face, and it was a wrap.
Yeah. So what do you think about Amir Sadala?
As Joe Rogan said, it's time for him to fight stiffer competition, proven competition.
Now, they said last night
Martin Kampman.
They made Martin Kampman.
That's who I want to see him fight.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah,
we'll find out how good he is real quick.
Well, did you notice during the interview, maybe I'm crazy, one of you guys correct me if I'm wrong, but they said that Amir looked over at him and he said, hey, you know what, when are you going to fight somebody, you think you're working your way up to fight somebody in the top 10 or top 20? I'm like, is that many fucking welterweights?
Yeah. Dude, if there's 20 top welterweights, I'd be shocked.
Yeah, and I don't think the welterweight, people are going to argue
I'd say Amir's probably in the top 15.
And
top 12 to 15.
Maybe even in the
top
lower
10?
part of the top 10.
Yeah.
Maybe 10, 9, or 8.
Yeah, I really think so. Now, DeMarcus Johnson is, man.
Yeah, good luck.
He's 3-2. He's a good fighter.
You could always go fight a strike force.
Yeah,
Because let me tell you what, if you keep coming forward like you did last night, young man, you could always fight in strike force if they were their own company. But they're not. So you'd actually be fighting in the UFC. So more than likely, you're going to get cut here in the next couple fights, and you will be You'll be fighting on Shark Fights or Bellator.
Shark Fights.
Or at a Denny's dumpster.
Right. That's our favorite place to watch fights.
Now, on to Dan Hardy and Anthony Johnson, and this is where Jimmy and I are going to have one hell of a heated argument, because let me just give you a little preface to this. Jimmy likes fighters who sell fights. This is, and I quote, "I like Frank Mir because he sells fights." How does Frank Mir sell a fight? With his big-ass mouth. And then he gets into the ring and he does what he has to do to win. So, this brings us to Anthony Johnson, who all week said he was going to stand up and beat the shit out of Dan Hardy, and then he did exactly what he had to do to win, and Jimmy has to say, what about this?
Well, to me, it's not about...
No one cares, because here's what Jimmy said.
You have lost!
No, I didn't. Anyway, go ahead.
You have lost! No one cares! See, you can't do it, George. You can't do it. You cut niggas off. You go crazy. You said Frank Mir had a big mouth. You can't be nice for a whole show. It's impossible. You know what? That's why I love you, bro. You know what I'm saying? Let's get to old George back, okay?
All right. So, here you go, Jimmy.
Back to what he was saying was, I have no problem with the guy selling the fight. It's just every time he went more than out of his way to say how he was going to win the fight, that he was going to stand up, that it was going to be fight of the night, that they were going to literally stand there and punch each other. You know, that's fine. Go out and then do that. I have no problem if you want to sell the fight in saying, you know, that you're going to beat the guy and this is why you're going to beat the guy, but don't say how you're going to do it and that it's going to be a fight of the night because you're both going to stand there and punch each other in the face when that you have you're not going to do it.
But he did in the first round. He stood up with him in the first round and took him down in the second and third because he probably realized, I don't want to punch with this guy.
He realized, and I don't care what anybody says, that I'm going to get caught.
Right.
And he took him down and he dry humped the fuck out of him to the point where the crowd was starting to boo.
Right.
And,
well, I mean, in reality, it's not that hard. He was probably about 195, 200 pounds.
Yeah, they said
Dan Hardy's 100 and maybe 75.
They said
77.
Anthony Johnson, when he walked in the ring, weighed $195. How do you put on 25 pounds in 24 hours?
Let me take, when you're visually looking at it, you look at, you know, my girl who doesn't watch a lot of MMA, and she was like, when she saw that fight, she goes, wow, that guy is so much bigger than the other guy. That's just her visually seeing that, saying, oh my God, he's so much bigger. And you're seeing that a lot. You're seeing that with a later fight, like with Phil Davis. You see these guys that are very athletic, that are huge when they walk in the ring, and they're able to just hold it. There was a time where a guy who was awesome at BJJ, even though you could get him down, they could be crafty and put you in a submission. You're seeing less and less of that, in my opinion.
Now, here's my question. If you're Dan Hardy and you're on the bottom and you keep trying for this Kimura, and obviously if you're trying for a Kimura, the ref's not going to stand you up. What if he just tucks his face into Anthony Johnson's midsection, wraps him up, and just holds on and tries to tuck his head in as close as he can? Because he would have to throw punches like this. Would the ref stand it up? Because obviously Dan Hardy should have done anything and everything he could to show that he was still trying to work, but still trying to get it stood up. Because it's kind of like a clinch in boxing. When you're tired or you hit hard, they tell you to clinch and hold. And that's what Dan Hardy should have attempted at some point. Dude, you're not going to fucking Kimura a guy with arms that long from the bottom. No. Very rarely do you see that.
I thought that the third round repeated the second round. It was like fucking the movie Groundhog Day.
It was like watching a GSP fight.
Anthony
Johnson did exactly what GSP is going to do in his next fight. He's going to do whatever he has to do to win the fight. If that means I'm going to hump your leg like a dog looking to pop one for 25 minutes, I'm going to do that. And that's what Johnson did in the next 2 rounds because he knows, and we all know, fucking Dan Hardy has dynamite in his hands. If he'd hit Anthony Johnson in the fucking head,
it would have been a wrap. It would have been a wrap.
He'd have been on the ground switching.
Yeah, it would have been a wrap. I agree, and I think somewhere along the first round that Rumble Johnson saw that shit and said, okay, I better renege on all the shit that I was talking.
Rumble Johnson has one of those rare type of builds for his size, much like a John Jones. If he developed his game, he could really be a threat in that division. And I mean, I'm a GSP fan, but if this guy develops his game, that would be a tough matchup for someone like a GSP. He's 6'2".
Yeah, he's lengthy.
I mean, you know, he's a big guy. He's really has a skill set. He just needs to develop it.
He just does. And which will roll us on to the next fight because...
Now, did anybody see Little Nas tracksuit? Did anybody see his homage to fucking Al Davis? Tell me somebody saw him in his all-white...
Now, George, stop.
I hope tap-out tracksuit. That shit was hot. The only thing he was missing was the big-ass 80s glasses sitting there going...
Now, let me explain something. Now, aren't you glad, right, that you could just be yourself and not try? Because you know what? You wouldn't have been able to say that segment if you were not going to.
I would have lost it right there.
You would have lost it, right? On that
So
fucking.
I'm glad I lost it the fight.
For all you people that did not get to see Little Nog's tracksuit,
That
it
shit was
quite something to
hot.
remember.
Yeah, it was a tap out, so put your order in.
Yeah, and actually it's going to be on. They're going to have it at the Smithsonian Institute.
And they're going to put a Raiders logo on the other side, and they're going to give it to Al, and he won't even know.
And Robbie Knievel will be using it when he jumps fucking Snake Canyon next week.
Now,
Anyway,
I had a serious problem with this fight, and it
Okay.
wasn't with the outcome, it's with what the judges saw. And this is where we get back to scoring, and you two can jump in at any time. Me personally, I gave the first round to Little Nog. He stuffed every single takedown.
did Davis? I can't recall. Did Davis? He stuffed everyone. He never took him down.
First round,
First
he's
round,
got
yeah.
every, and it looked bad. And
Yeah.
he would shoot in, and Nog not just stuff it, but stuff it and then throw him off.
Mhm.
So he stuffed him every single takedown.
Okay.
So again, Phil Davis got rewarded for constantly shooting and constantly coming forward,
Mhm.
where Nog got no credit for defense.
Right.
It's like all your points go to the guy who attacks. If you defend, you don't get any points for
Right.
defending.
Now, see, I didn't get to see every round of this fight because I was by this point in time after watching the fight, I was literally nodding off. I don't have a problem with saying I was fucking nodding off because I was nodding off. It was late and the shit was there wasn't a lot of action in my opinion. And there'll be some fucking American wrestler out there be like, "Oh, you don't appreciate this." You know, I wrestle. Shut the fuck up, okay? It's just
I didn't.
You know,
Jimmy wrestles every night by himself in bed.
Right. I just.
Yeah, I'm winning. I'm going for the pin.
Never lost.
Right. Oh, I'm sick. Just threw up on myself.
On to the second round.
That's right.
Came out. Phil Davis kept going in for the shots, and he finally landed one with probably a minute 40 left to go in the second round.
Yeah.
Now, if you attempt, a round's 5 minutes long.
But okay, let me ask you something. In the first round, okay, and I'm gonna, because I was literally nodding off and on. Nog, did he pepper him?
He hit him with a couple good shots.
Yeah.
Did he pepper him? Okay. In the second round, did he pepper him?
He mainly played defense and tried to keep him at a distance.
So it could have been the second round could have been even, or maybe you're saying because
But not dude. Phil Davis won this fight 30-27 on a UD.
That
on
doesn't
all
make
reps.
sense. No.
And I don't. How?
the only way he could win 30-27 is if Nog won the first round, which it seems like he did. The second.
No. There was no 10-8.
There was no 10-8.
Oh,
Okay, so
there
that's all I was
couldn't
going.
have been
I was going to say
unless
that.
it was
Yeah, I was going to say it had to be a 10-8 in the third round.
I'm not taking anything away from Phil Davis.
Mhm.
Young man, you have a phenomenal physique, and like Jimmy just said about Anthony Rumble Johnson, you are about 3 years away from be able to touch where John Jones is at now. Good luck with that, because I think John Jones is only going to get better.
Mhm.
I don't see how you won this fight 30-27.
He's going to have to. I noticed that Lloyd Irvin was he was in the background, came in the ring with him. Actually, Mario. I'll give you guys a little bit of history. Mario Yamasaki, who's a ref, it was a ref that night. Opened up a school here, and Mario had a school here, and then Lloyd actually was a student of Mario Yamasaki's, and then Lloyd ended up blowing up and ended up going to do his own thing, and has continued to do his own thing. He's a phenomenal. Lloyd Irvin is nasty. We saw that right back in Mario's school. Like, man, this cat is fucking unbelievable. But I noticed he was in the ring with Phil Davis. They're probably going to need somebody to bring in some. He's going to need somebody that's going to teach him some good Muay Thai, and that's the thing. I mean, he's a Division I wrestler. He's a good wrestler. He can take you down. He can stuff takedowns. But until he gets a stand-up game, which
he's got. The physique, raw talent is there. It just needs to be refined.
Right. Now, there was a lot of people that were going out there saying that he could be the next threat to John Jones.
Not
even
yet.
remotely.
No,
man.
not yet.
First of all, he's given up some height to John Jones and some reach to John
And
Jones.
there's no reason to throw him to the
No.
wolves. Let him develop.
Yeah,
John Jones is 23. He's going to be around.
And Phil Davis is 26. So, this could be the face of your light heavyweight for a long time.
Right, exactly.
And the idea about, and Kevin and I just put out a video, and no, Jimmy wasn't there, so we're and I think we broke down 3 fighters pretty well. And a lot of you agree. But a lot of you want to know why we didn't include any of the heavyweights. Let's face it, a lot of the heavyweight fighters in the UFC are only going to be fighting at the heavyweight division.
They're only going to be fighting at the heavyweight division. And I'm going to tell you what, if there is a turnover, that's why Fedor was so great. Because he sat there and went through all the heavyweight
Height, sizes, weights, he didn't give a shit.
for so many years. But if you sit there and if you look at the UFC heavyweight champions, the UFC light heavyweight champions, there's only been 4 I think 4 middleweight champions. I think there's been maybe 5 welterweight champions. You can't even. There's been 50 million heavyweight champions. The turnover with people owning the belt in the heavyweight class in the UFC. It's like maybe 2 fights they hold the belt.
And I think Cain Velasquez is going to hold the belt for a while. But I don't ever see Cain getting down to 205. And I don't ever see some guy at 205 trying to pack on enough size to go up and fight Cain Velasquez.
Yeah, I think Cain Velasquez is nice shit. But I tell you what, if some fucking big athletic guy who can fucking throw bricks comes in there and it has some length.
Dude, and here's the other thing. John Jones is 23. Who's to say by 27, 28 he's not weighing 240?
Yeah. But he's 215. They said he walks around at 215 now, so he's he's not far off the 205.
Stay at 205.
Yeah.
That's the reason why we excluded any heavyweights. Not knocking on them, but more than likely the heavyweights in the UFC are going to stay at heavy.
Right.
I mean, the only guy who bounces back and forth and does kind of well is Randy Couture.
Yeah.
That's because he's 95 years old, and he's seen everything you could possibly do to another man inside of a cage.
I was looking at Randy Couture's records the other day, just the people he's fought and how many times. It's unbelievable. Like, I was someone that didn't realize all his accomplishments.
Dude,
I mean,
his first fight was against a grizzly bear.
It was, and he fucked the grizzly bear up.
Yes.
That grizzly bear is still in a wheelchair.
In a arm bar.
Light heavyweight belt, heavyweight belt, numerous times winning a heavyweight championship. It's crazy.
He was a bad man.
And against some good opponents. Anyway, let's get the fuck out of UFC Fight Night Seattle.